Your body is supposed to protect you. That's literally its one job. But for millions of people, the immune system didn't read the manual. It's out here fighting water, sunlight, and in one case, your own emotions. Today, I'm breaking down every weird allergy that shouldn't exist but absolutely does, starting with the tamest one, because it only gets worse from here. Dermatographia. Imagine writing your name on your own arm with nothing but a fingernail. Just scratch the skin and watch the letters rise up like some kind of biological etch-a sketch. That's dermatographia, and roughly 5% of the population has it. Here's what's happening. Your immune system sees any pressure on the skin and goes, "We're under attack." It floods the area with histamine to fight off a threat that doesn't exist. The result is raised, discolored wheals that show up within minutes and usually disappear within half an hour. No lasting damage. Just your body being dramatic for absolutely no reason. Treatment is basically nothing. Antihistamines, moisturizer, loose clothing. Most people see it resolve within a year or two. So, yes, dermatographia is the mildest entry on this list. Your immune system is dumb, but at least in this case, it's harmlessly dumb. But if you think being allergic to your own skin pressure is inconvenient, wait until you hear about the people who break out in hives every time they touch a quarter. Nickel. You can be allergic to money, literally. Coins contain nickel, and nickel is one of the most common contact allergies on the planet, affecting about 8.6% of people globally. That means roughly 1 in 12 people will break out in a rash if they hold a handful of change long enough, and most of them have zero idea. Here's where it gets interesting. The split between men and women is massive. 22% of women have a nickel allergy, compared to just 5.3% of men. And the reason isn't some genetic mystery, it's ear piercings. People with 3 or more piercings show a prevalence of 27.6%, because nickel-containing jewelry is the primary way your body gets sensitized. One cheap earring from a mall kiosk, and congratulations, your immune system now hates a chemical element. But nickel isn't just in jewelry, it's in zippers, belt buckles, eyeglass frames, keys, and plumbing fixtures. Basically everywhere, which makes avoiding it a full-time job once your body decides it's the enemy. The good news? The EU actually proved you can fix this. After they restricted nickel in consumer products, sensitization rates in young women dropped from 19.8% down to 11.4%. Regulation literally made fewer people allergic. But if you think being allergic to the coins in your pocket sounds inconvenient, wait until you hear about people who are allergic to human hair. Let's get this out of the way immediately. You're not allergic to your own hair. That would be genuinely horrifying, but it's not what's happening here. What you're actually allergic to is everything you put on your hair, which, when you think about it, is almost worse. Scalp allergic contact dermatitis is a type 4 delayed hypersensitivity reaction, meaning your T cells decide that some chemical in your shampoo is a threat and launch a full inflammatory response against your own scalp. The usual suspects include PPD in hair dyes, ammonium persulfate in bleaches, and glyceryl monothioglycolate in perming products. Fragrances alone show up in roughly 2/3 of shampoos on the market, so good luck avoiding those. But it gets worse. People allergic to PPD frequently cross-react with textile dyes and certain rubber chemicals. Dye your hair once, react badly, and suddenly half the products in your bathroom are enemies. The real problem is misdiagnosis. Scalp ACD gets mistaken for seborrheic dermatitis constantly. The key difference is simple. Seborrheic dermatitis itches when your hair is dirty. Scalp ACD itches the moment the allergen touches your skin, even freshly washed. And unlike regular dandruff, this one can cause genuine hair loss. So it's not just uncomfortable, it's taking your hair with it. But if you think an allergy to hair products sounds inconvenient, wait until you hear about being allergic to vibration. Playing the saxophone can cause an allergic reaction, so can snoring. Let that sink in for a second. Vibratory angioedema is a condition where exposure to vibration causes localized swelling, redness, and itching within minutes. Symptoms peak around 4 to 6 hours later and typically resolve within 24 hours. The trigger list reads like a practical joke: power tools, motorcycles, lawn mowers, horseback riding, toweling off after a shower, and yes, playing brass instruments like the saxophone and trumpet. Even vigorous snoring has been documented as a trigger. Your own body vibrating in your sleep can betray you. Here's where it gets interesting. In familial cases, researchers identified mutations in the ADGRE2 gene, which essentially makes mast cells hypersensitive to vibration. These cells are supposed to wait for actual threats before releasing histamine. Instead, they feel a little rumble and go absolutely nuclear. It's a literal genetic predisposition to being allergic to shaking. But before you write this off as a quirky inconvenience, know this: full body vibratory massage has provoked anaphylaxis in documented cases. Prolonged exposure can trigger systemic symptoms including dizziness, rapid heart rate, and dangerously low blood pressure. A massage nearly killing someone is not the relaxing spa day anyone signed up for. But if vibration sounds like a bizarre trigger, wait until you hear about people who are allergic to cold temperatures. Most allergies on this list sound weird but manageable. This one can literally kill you at a pool party. Cold urticaria is exactly what it sounds like. Your body treats cold temperatures like an allergen. Within minutes of exposure, itchy welts break out across the skin. And here's the fun part: they actually get worse as your skin rewarms. So you don't just suffer in the cold, you suffer coming back from it too. The everyday triggers sound almost comical. Hold a cold drink, your hand swells up. Eat ice cream, your lips balloon. Step outside on a damp, windy day. Congratulations, the weather is now your enemy. But here's where it gets genuinely dangerous. Swimming in cold water exposes a massive amount of skin all at once, and that can trigger full-body anaphylaxis, fainting, shock, a blood pressure drop so severe it can kill you. A cannonball into a cold lake isn't a fun summer moment for these people. It's a medical emergency. The mechanism is confirmed. Researchers measured histamine levels in cold, exposed skin and found they spike within 2 to 5 minutes. That's direct mast cell degranulation, the same process behind severe reactions to bee stings or peanuts, except the trigger is temperature. Treatment involves high-dose antihistamines, sometimes cetirizine pushed up to 40 milligrams daily, 4 times the standard dose. The silver lining is that roughly 30% of patients see it resolve on its own within 5 to 10 years. The other 70% just have to keep avoiding cold things indefinitely, which is, not ideal. But if being allergic to cold sounds inconvenient, wait until you hear about the people who are allergic to water itself. Your body is 60% water. Your tears are water. Your sweat is water. So what happens when you're allergic to all of it? You get aquagenic urticaria, a condition so rare and so cruel that your own body is constantly producing the one thing that hurts you. Here's how it works. Within 20 to 30 minutes of any water touching your skin, tiny 1 to 3 millimeter wheels erupt surrounded by angry red flares. Rain, a shower, a swimming pool, your own tears rolling down your face. Even sweating triggers a reaction. Your body is essentially attacking itself for doing what bodies do. But here's where it gets genuinely weird. You'd assume this is a histamine reaction, right? That's how most allergies work. Except patients developed full urticarial reactions with 0 increase in histamine levels. None. Whatever is causing this might not even be a traditional allergic mechanism. Researchers found that blocking acetylcholine actually suppressed the wheels, meaning the reaction runs through a completely different system than anyone expected. Treatment is basically throwing antihistamines at it anyway, sometimes at 4 times the normal dose, and hoping for the best. For stubborn cases, doctors have tried UV phototherapy and even omalizumab, an antibody originally designed for asthma. But the real kicker is the lifestyle. You can limit your showers. You can stay out of the rain, but you can't stop sweating. You can't stop crying. The trigger is literally built into you. But if being allergic to water sounds like the universe's worst joke, wait until you hear about people who break out in hives from sunlight. Being allergic to the sun sounds like something a vampire made up to get out of a beach trip. But solar urticaria is very real and very brutal. Within minutes of sun exposure, affected individuals develop erythematous, pruritic wheals across every inch of exposed skin. Burning, stinging, the works. And it doesn't just happen on a bright July afternoon. The triggering wavelengths range from 300 nanometers all the way up to 500 nanometers, which means some patients react to visible light you can see with your eyes, which is, not ideal. Here's how it works. UV or visible light hits the skin and activates something called an endogenous chromophore, a substance already sitting in your serum or dermis, just waiting for its moment. That light converts it into a photoallergen, which then triggers IgE-mediated mast cell degranulation. Your body essentially treats sunlight like a bee sting. But here's where it gets complicated. Certain medications can make the whole thing worse, or even trigger it in the first place. Atorvastatin, chlorpromazine, tetracycline, oral contraceptives, all documented photosensitizers. So someone could be taking a completely routine prescription and suddenly develop an allergy to walking outside. Cool. Add that to the list. The real weight of this condition is existential. Spontaneous resolution sits at only 15% after 5 years and 25% after 10. Most patients face long-term confinement to indoor environments during daylight hours. Think about what that means. Employment options shrink. Social life evaporates. Mental health deteriorates. You're not just avoiding the sun, you're restructuring your entire existence around it. But if you think being trapped indoors by sunlight is rough, wait until a single tick bite takes away your ability to eat a cheeseburger. Red meat. A tick can make you allergic to hamburgers. I need you to sit with that for a second. A tiny arachnid the size of a sesame seed bites you on a hike, and now your immune system treats a ribeye like it's anthrax. That's alpha-gal syndrome, and it is exactly as insane as it sounds. Here's how it works. The Lone Star tick carries a sugar molecule called galactose alpha 1,3 galactose, found in the cell membranes of basically every mammal on Earth except humans. When the tick bites you, it injects that sugar into your skin. Your immune system produces IgE antibodies against it, and congratulations, you are now allergic to beef, pork, lamb, venison, and anything else that once had a heartbeat and hooves. Over 110,000 suspected cases were identified in the US between 2010 and 2022, and researchers estimate up to 450,000 Americans are currently walking around with this condition. Many of them don't even know it, and the reason they don't know it is genuinely cruel. Unlike a normal food allergy where you eat a peanut and your throat closes in minutes, alpha-gal reactions show up 2 to 6 hours later. So you eat a steak at dinner, go to bed feeling fine, and wake up at 2 a.m. in full anaphylaxis. Good luck explaining that to an ER doctor. Which brings us to the real problem. 42% of US healthcare providers have never even heard of alpha-gal syndrome. Another 35% aren't confident diagnosing it. That's 77% of doctors who essentially can't help you. You're waking up in the middle of the night unable to breathe, and the medical system is shrugging. But if you think needing a tick bite to ruin your diet is bad, wait until you hear about the allergy that triggers from something you literally cannot stop doing: exercise. Here's a fun medical paradox for you. Exercise is universally recommended for health. Every doctor on the planet will tell you to stay active. But for about 0.05% of the population, exercise can literally kill them. Exercise-induced anaphylaxis is exactly what it sounds like. You start jogging, and your body decides that physical activity is a threat worth mounting a full immune response against. Hives, throat swelling, blood pressure dropping, the whole anaphylactic package. Jogging accounts for 78% of reported cases, but even yard work has triggered it. The act of pulling weeds from the ground has sent people into anaphylactic shock, which is, not ideal. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. About 30 to 50% of cases are food dependent, meaning the person can eat wheat with zero problems. They can jog with zero problems. But if they eat wheat and then jog, full anaphylaxis. Neither factor causes a reaction alone, only the combination. Wheat plus jogging equals potential death. And I genuinely don't know what to tell you about that. The proposed mechanism involves exercise redirecting blood flow from your gut to your muscles, which exposes more mast cells to whatever allergen is circulating from that sandwich you ate. Your body essentially creates the perfect storm internally. And the truly terrifying part is the inconsistency. The same person can do the exact same workout after eating the exact same food, and sometimes nothing happens. Other times, full anaphylaxis. Zero reliable pattern. The medical advice is essentially always carry adrenaline. Never exercise alone. Avoid food for 4 to 6 hours before activity, and stop immediately at any symptom. So the prescription is exercise is essential for your health, but it might also kill you, and we can't tell you when. But if you think your own body betraying you during a jog is unsettling, wait until you hear about people who react to something even harder to avoid than exercise: electricity. This one's different from everything else on this list, and I need to be upfront about that. Electromagnetic hypersensitivity is the claimed condition where people experience headaches, fatigue, sleep problems, and burning sensations from exposure to electromagnetic fields. Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, power lines, fluorescent lights, basically the entire infrastructure of modern civilization. People who report this describe genuine, sometimes debilitating symptoms. Here's the thing, though. It has zero scientific basis. It is not a recognized medical diagnosis. 46 double-blind experiments involving 1,175 self-diagnosed individuals found no robust evidence that electromagnetic exposure actually causes symptoms. None. The subjects couldn't tell the difference between real exposure and fake exposure at rates better than random chance. Turn the Wi-Fi on, turn it off, or just pretend to turn it on. The symptom report stayed exactly the same, which brings us to something genuinely fascinating: the nocebo effect. It's the evil twin of the placebo effect. Instead of getting better because you believe you're being treated, you get worse because you believe you're being harmed. Symptom reports correlated more closely with the belief that someone was being exposed than with actual exposure. People could be triggered by simply imagining harmful exposure was happening. The symptoms are real. The electromagnetic cause is not. So what do you actually do for these people? The WHO recommends evaluating for underlying medical conditions, psychological assessment, and checking environments for things like air pollution or noise that could be the real culprit. Cognitive behavioral therapy has shown genuine success in helping patients return to normal daily life. It's a strange place to land. The body is reacting to something, just not what the person thinks it's reacting to. But if you think the brain tricking you into physical symptoms from invisible fields is weird, wait until you hear about the allergy triggered by your own emotions. Imagine being allergic to your own feelings. Not metaphorically, not in a stress is bad for your health kind of way. Literally allergic. That's adrenergic urticaria, and it's exactly as nightmarish as it sounds. Here's how it works. When you experience stress, your brain's locus coeruleus activates and releases norepinephrine. That norepinephrine hits the amygdala via beta-1 receptors, which triggers your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight response. The adrenal medulla then dumps epinephrine and norepinephrine into your system. The epinephrine causes vasoconstriction in the skin, creating a distinctive white halo around each wheal. The norepinephrine causes mast cell degranulation, creating the angry red center. So you get these bizarre little targets all over your body, red wheals surrounded by white rings, like your skin is keeping score of how upset you are. And it's not just emotional stress. Coffee triggers it, chocolate triggers it, spices, exercise, even a hot bath. Basically, anything that nudges your sympathetic nervous system awake can set it off. But here's the part that genuinely keeps me up at night. Positive emotions trigger it too. Excitement, joy, surprise. Your body doesn't distinguish between I'm terrified and I'm thrilled. Both activate the same pathway. Both produce the same wheels. Happiness itself becomes a medical event. And then the feedback loop kicks in. You break out in hives. That stresses you out. The stress makes it worse. The worsening stresses you out more. There is no exit. Your body's own defense mechanism has become the thing it's defending against. Beyond the skin, patients experience heart palpitations, rapid breathing, wheezing, and postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. The standard treatment is propranolol, 10 to 60 milligrams 2 to 3 times daily, which blocks the beta-adrenergic receptors driving the whole cascade. Newer options like omalizumab and dupilumab show promise, and Bruton's tyrosine kinase inhibitors are currently in development for refractory cases. But if one rogue emotion can wreck your day, imagine a condition where your mast cells just fire at random. No trigger required, no warning, no pattern. Allergic to everything. Every allergy we've covered so far has a trigger. Water, sunlight, cold, vibration, your own emotions. Weird triggers, sure, but triggers nonetheless. Something enters the equation and the body overreacts. Mast cell activation syndrome throws that entire concept in the trash. MCS causes intense episodes of swelling, shortness of breath, hives, diarrhea, vomiting, and full-blown anaphylaxis, hitting at least 2 organ systems at the same time. And the trigger? Nothing. Literally nothing identifiable. Your mast cells just wake up one morning and decide that something dangerous has entered the body when absolutely nothing has. They release a flood of inflammatory proteins against a threat that doesn't exist. Your immune system is essentially fighting ghosts. Here's where it gets even more frustrating. Diagnosing this thing is a nightmare. The standard test requires a rise in tryptase of 20% above baseline plus 2 nanograms per milliliter. But MCAS can occur even with completely normal tryptase levels. An elevated histamine alone doesn't confirm it either. So you've got a condition with no identifiable trigger, inconsistent lab results, and symptoms that mimic a dozen other diseases. Cool, that's also a thing that happened. Treatment doesn't cure anything. It just stacks medications on top of each other and hopes for the best. Mast cell stabilizers like cromolyn sodium try to stop the cells from degranulating in the first place. H1 and H2 antihistamines block histamine effects from 2 different angles. Ketotifen does both, which is genuinely impressive for a single pill. Corticosteroids handle the inflammation. You take all of them, together, every day, because your body is perpetually at war with nothing, and the best medicine can do is manage the battlefield. The strange silver lining? Providers expect a normal lifespan. You survive. You just never stop fighting your own immune system for the rest of it. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.